Hello, everybody. We should be live on all platforms right now: YouTube, Amazon, Facebook, and Twitch. So hello everyone and welcome to Utechpia. In this video, we're going to install this baby right over here. We're going to install the Arctic Freezer 2, or the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2. This is the all-in-one cooler. This is a 360mm version. I've never done one before, but I think I know how to install it, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and install this baby, and let's see how it goes. First, we need to actually unbox our motherboard. So let me show you a top-down view of what we're doing right here. So this is the motherboard. Basically, we are using the Tomahawk X570 motherboard from MSI. So here's the motherboard, brand new motherboard. Excited for this build. If you've been watching some of the builds video recently, we did a similar build on Jeremy's computer. And we use the same motherboard, so highly recommend this one. This is the MSI motherboard, the Tomahawk version of the MSI motherboard. I'll put the link down below. This one is $220 on Amazon right now. Really good deal for one of the best motherboards you can put together for a Ryzen computer build. Basically, it's not the budget motherboard, but it's a mid-tier, and it's probably the best one for around $220 because of the over-engineered cooling for the VRAM, as well as the voltage regulator. So really good stuff. Let me see how to open this thing. I forgot already. How do I get this motherboard out of this case? I think I just lift this up. It's well packaged in there. There we go. So again, we're installing the cooler. So if you want, there will be a link down below to jump to where the cooler installation starts. But first, we got to get the motherboard, the CPU into the motherboard, and then we'll install the cooler. All right, so here's the motherboard. Let's open this up. All right, hang on. There's a little piece of tape here. Tape comes out first, so we can get to the motherboard. Here we go. All right. Alright, our MSI X570 Tomahawk motherboard, I present to you, ta-da, in all of its glory, right there. Beautiful motherboard. What makes this motherboard really unique is the VRMs and the cooler for the VRMs. See, look how beefy this cooler is, and it just makes the VRMs very cool. To get the same cooling performance on any other X570 motherboard, you're paying between $400 to $600. So for $220, this motherboard cools the VRM by far better than any other motherboards out there. Also, what's neat about this motherboard, I think I can zoom in a little bit for you guys. There you go. So what's neat about this motherboard here is also the backplate is built in. So that's a nice feature of this motherboard. A lot of times the backplate is not built in, and sometimes you forget to put it in before you finish the installation, so that's not going to be a problem. The fan here is also positioned very well away from the graphics card, so normally when you install your graphics card here, it's not going to block the fan. Also, you notice it's still reinforced PCIe slot here to help with the graphics card, because graphics card is pretty heavy these days, especially the the RTX 2070 Super that we're going to install. And another great thing is this fan here. It says, hey, play hard, stay silent. So of course we're going to remove this. And what this is basically saying is that this fan actually doesn't even spin unless there's an actual load. So this is like just to remind you that just because the fan's not spinning doesn't mean that there's something wrong. It just means that your CPU is really not using a lot of resources, so it doesn't need the fan to turn on. So there is that. All right, let me see here. Okay, very cool, very cool. So what else do we mention about this motherboard? Yeah, lots of features. Bunch of USB, Wi-Fi 6, also 2.5 gigabit LAN. But anyway, oh yeah, also 2 M.2 slots, PCIe 4. As long as you're using a Ryzen 3000 or newer CPU, you got 2 M.2 Gen 4 slots there. Okay, let's install the CPU. We are installing no other than the Ryzen 9 3590 3950X. Jeez, I keep forgetting. 3950X. This is the 16-core, 32-thread CPU. This thing is a beast. So of course, it always comes with a huge box, right? But the CPU is really just this little thing down here, right in the center here. This is a CPU. We're gonna go ahead and put this out, install it into our socket, and we should be good to go. If you're ever curious why this box is so big. It's just for display purpose. You have instruction manuals here, and then if you look right in here, like what is in the box, right? You might be curious. So I was curious the first time, but I figured out all it is just a bunch of big piece of foam. That's all it is. It's a huge piece of foam here, and then that's what makes this box so big. But anyway, we'll go ahead and close that out, because all we need is this beautiful Ryzen 3950X CPU. Super nice CPU right there. Let me get that in focus for you. Boom. Beautiful, beautiful Ryzen 9 3950X CPU. It's a thing of beauty. Okay, so we're gonna open this. So the way to install this CPU onto this motherboard is you gotta make sure you line up this little triangle here. This is a little bit tricky. Oh, we got a comment. Oh, how many GPU slots? Well, you can put 2 GPUs on here. Yeah, so this motherboard probably... Hi, Paul. Yeah, this motherboard isn't for the crazy multiple GPU users. So this one should be able to fit 2 GPUs. I've only used it for 1 GPU, so that's what I know it works with. You might want to look at the MSI website for more details if you want to install multiple GPUs. Yep. All right, so now one thing to note when installing, let me switch over to this camera mode right here. So when you are installing the motherboard, the CPU, just gotta be really careful. You see that little tiny triangle there? That tiny triangle is super small. I don't know if you can even see it. Let me zoom in and maybe turn on the light here so you can see it. Right, let me see if I can get focus on it for you guys. Oh, I can't really focus on it. Well, maybe if I zoom in right there. So right there, you should see a tiny little triangle that doesn't want to focus. Sorry guys, it's not focusing, but there's a little triangle right there. So what that triangle lines up is on the CPU side, you gotta make sure that it lines up with this tiny little triangle. Oh my gosh, this is really bad. That tiny little triangle right there on my thumb. You almost can't even see it, it's so small, but there's a tiny little triangle right in my thumb. So that's how it's gonna orientate itself, just like this. So it's gonna look upside down to me. And yeah, that's how we're gonna install it. And let's go ahead and do that right now. I'll switch over to the top view so you guys can see. Actually, better yet, let me see if I can get an angle view so you can see me install the CPU for you guys. So right here, let me get this angle here. There we go. And we'll point it down to the CPU socket. Of course, I installed my phone in the wrong orientation, so I gotta flip this around. One moment here. Sorry about this. I'm gonna flip this around. Paul, why are you up so late, man? How are things going? Thank you for always tuning in, my friend. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hope you are doing well. Man, it's hot today, isn't it, Paul? I don't know about you, but over here in the Bay Area, we had a thunderstorm last night. We also had crazy heat waves this afternoon, and a lot of our utilities are shutting off power. It's been crazy. Hopefully things aren't as bad for you in SoCal, but yeah, wishing you all the best. Hopefully you're doing well. So we got this other camera pointing to the CPU, so now you can see me do the socket installation. So here's our CPU. Again, what we gotta make sure we do very carefully is that little triangle right at my index finger right now. A little triangle, you can't see it, but if you look very closely on the CPU, you will see a tiny little triangle, and that lines up with this tiny little triangle right here on the socket. So just gonna make sure we put the CPU in like that. So open up this case here. Hey, it's Jay the Silencer. California also, yeah, it rained. Wow, that's crazy, man. I didn't know that it also had rain and thunderstorm. Dude, you know what I think about the rain and thunderstorm? I kind of saw this meme on the internet, and I think it's crazy because it's like aliens are taking over the world, or there's some cosmic other life form coming to Earth. It's just weird, right? Thunderstorm, rain, massive heat wave. What's going on? 2020 is crazy. Anyway, let's go ahead and open this thing. CPU container here and put the CPU right into our computer, our motherboard. So again, it's a little arrow right here that we're gonna make sure we put to the CPU. Open up the pin here, open up the CPU slot, slide that in there. Let's make sure that it falls in nicely. And then we're just gonna lock the CPU down, just like that, and boom, CPU is installed. Very simple. If you didn't get that one pin aligned, I don't think it fits in. It should just only fit in that one location. So there it is, that little arrow. It's super hard to see, but there's a tiny, I don't know if it can even focus. There's like a tiny little arrow on the chip, and then there was a tiny little arrow on the motherboard. But that's it, the CPU is installed. And now we can get to the fun part, and that is installing this Arctic Liquid Freezer 2. Boom! Yes, we're gonna install this baby. So let's open this box up and see what we have there. So for one moment, we're gonna take this motherboard and put it to the side. Down over here. Let me find a nice place to put our motherboard. Put it on this little bag here. So, okay. So let's open up the Liquid Freezer 2. Wow, this is, oh, yeah, wrong camera angle. Hang on a second. Let me switch over to the top view for you guys. There we go. All right, we are on the top view, and we make sure we are focusing on the product. Yes, so now we are talking about this AIO cooler. So this is an all-in-one cooler. And the reason why it's called all-in-one is because it is a water cooler, but it's a closed loop cooler, CLC. In other words, there's water in this system, but we don't need to worry about maintaining the water because it's a closed loop. It's all-in-one, self-contained. All you do is you hook this end, which is it's a pump right there, and this end connects to the CPU of your computer, and you power up the pump and you power up the fan, and it takes care of the rest. Water flows through the radiator, gets cool, pushes through this, and blah, works great. 2-year warranty, Arctic Liquid Freezer 2, 360mm. This is the biggest size they come in, and this one is in stock now on Amazon for, I believe, $125. It was out of stock for the longest time just because this is a well sought after, high performance. This is probably the best liquid cooler all-in-one on the market right now. Especially if you're going for the best bang for value. In terms of performance, it's up there, very high performance. In terms of value, really good value, as long as you don't care about the lack of RGB LEDs. And I like RGB LEDs in my computer case, but I don't need it in everything. In fact, the way we're going to set this up is we're going to use included fans on one side of the radiator, but on the other side of the radiator, we'll have to push and pull setup where we actually have our RGB fans. So don't worry, we're gonna get RGB blinged in here, even though this Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 360mm does not have any RGB to start with. So let's open the box, let's see what we have with it. Oh, I should also mention this works for Intel and AMD, but obviously today we're installing it on the AMD Ryzen 9 3950X CPU. So let's open this guy up and let's see what we got in this box. All right. Oh, there's like 3 tabs. Usually there's only 1 tab, but this 360mm has 3 tabs, I guess, because it's so beefy. You need 3 tabs. There we go. All right. Here's the cooler in all of its beautiful glory. We got mounting hardware kit right here. Let's open this up and see what we got in here. So there's a lot of stuff in here, and it's heavy. So we got some QR code here for installation, a little bit of a thank you, the cooler way, thank you, and then, oh, some warranty. And if you're not happy, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hand, write them a review, follow them on these social media. If you're not happy, contact support, and they will take care of you. So pretty cool, very nice. Put that to the side right there. The QR code I'll put to the side as well. What else we got in here? So we got some thermal paste in here. So we'll need that to see how well. Well, I got better thermal paste, but for the sake of setting this up, we'll use included thermal paste. And we got some different brackets for whether you're using AMD or Intel chips, and a bunch of screws to install the radiator. Well, to install the pump to your motherboard, also install the radiator to the computer case. And that's that. We'll leave that over here. Anything else in here? Nope, nothing else. Empty box. We're done with that. Put that to the side. Wow, Okay, so a lot of people say that the hose is pretty long, and yeah, I can tell right away it's a pretty long hose, which is fine because it's better to have a long hose than short, because if it's long, you can kind of loop it around, but if it's short, you can't do anything if you have a large case and your hose is short. So let's take this cooler out of this case. Oh, here's the pump head, so that's why it's so well protected. So let me just open up this and check out the pump head. Yes. So here is our pump head. There we are. So this is the part that's going to go into our connect to the motherboard, and this plate here gets in contact with the CPU. And there's also a label here, so we have to peel off this label before we install it. Also, obviously, the label is there to protect the surface because we want to make sure this surface is as smooth as possible, because that is a surface that conducts heat between the CPU and the cooler. And the smoother it is, the better conductivity for the heat to transfer. So that's that. Take out the cardboard box here. Ooh, Arctic fans for Arctic cooler. No other fan will do. And you know, Arctic has been making fans for a long time for computer case, and they have some of the best quality fans on the market. They cool well and they're very quiet. So that's that. See if there's anything else in this box. Nope, just cardboard. Oh, maybe. Let's see, one more thing here. Let me just check down here. There's a little thing here. Nope. Hey, there's like a box here, but I don't think there's anything in it. Let me see if there's actually anything in it. Maybe a surprise coupon or something. And what do we have inside? Yeah, absolutely nothing. Dude. All right, so that's it. The cooler has been unpacked. Let me just throw in all the cardboard here so I don't make a mess in my room. All right, there we go. The cooler container. We'll take out the bag here. Actually, we'll leave the bag in here because we don't want to damage this before we do the installation. So that looks good. We'll just move this out of the way. And we'll close up the box so it's nice and neat. And I will say, this video is not sponsored by Arctic Freeze, by Arctic in any way. I purchased this with my own money. This is a fantastic cooler, and I will buy it again if I had to, because I think this is the best cooler on the market for all-in-one cooler, and definitely this is the one I want to use. Now, if I want to use this versus a air cooler, that is to be debated. I'm deciding if I want to stick with this or if I want to go to air cooling. And we'll find out, because we have another computer, Jeremy's computer, with me right now. So later on, we'll do an A to B test and just compare directly his setup versus my setup and see if the noise level are the same, or which one is quieter and which one cools better for a Ryzen 3950X CPU, because we both have the same CPU. All right, so put this to the side here and take a closer look at this cooler. So here's the radiator. So we'll make sure we want to mount the radiator in the case this way. So if the radiator is going to be mounted into the case this way, like this, the CPU, we just have to make sure we pipe the wires right to install this onto the motherboard. So I guess now is the time where we will get the motherboard into the picture. Oh boy. So it doesn't come with a manual. There's an instruction here. So you're supposed to use a QR code, and you're supposed to hit this right here to get the instruction manual. That's kind of lame, to be honest, because doing install like right now, I want to have the manual in front of me so I can actually do the installation. That's gonna suck. That's gonna really suck. All right, we'll just have to figure out which hardware we're gonna use for our installation. Oh boy, this is bummer. So no instructions included whatsoever. All right, it sounds like we might have to resort to YouTube and figure out how to do the installation. So let us jump onto YouTube and search for that. So I'm gonna jump over to YouTube, and we're gonna take a look at some installation guides. So if you guys always want to go to youtube.com, you can look for Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 360mm installation. And yep, right here we got the one from no other than Arctic. And we can see in the box we got all those components. And then we got this for the AM4, which is the AMD setup. So here, so we got the mounting clip, we know we got that. We got the screws for the radiator, we got the screws for the AM4, okay. And then we got flat washers for radiator, and screws for mounting clips, and we got this. So I'm gonna make sure that I sort out our components such that we have the right equipment here. So there's a bunch of screws that we make sure we know which that we're gonna use. So we have to use both of these mounting clips, and I don't think we're gonna need this plate because they told us that these are for the AMD. This is for AMD installation. So this plate here, this one is probably for Intel. So let's put this to the side so we don't get confused. So we got that. What are these? Oh, these are washers? Oh wow, there's like very thin, almost like sticker washers. Okay, I didn't know about those. I'm actually not sure what those are, but anyway. So we got of course we got the thermal paste that we're definitely going to use. And we got some hardware here. We gotta make sure we know which one is which. So again, we're comparing this with what we see on the screen here, right? Because this is the official Arctic liquid freezer installation. Again, no manual, so we're gonna deal with that. So again, let's go to top view here and figure out what we need. We need flat washers for the radiators. So we need a whole bunch of them. We need 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 of them. So here's 1, here's 2, here's 3, here's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and we're missing one. What? What? We're missing a washer? Nope, wait, it's here. Found it. Yeah. There we go. All right, we got all of them. So I was covering it with my big head. So there's all the washers we need. And jumping back to the screen. So we got the 10 washers. Now we need the, let's look for the screws, the mounting clips, all right? So wrong view, not that view, this view. All right, so screws for the mounting clip. So they're the longer screws. Here's this screw, and I believe this screw. So those are the 2 screws we need. I'm wondering if it's that screw or this screw, because this screw here looks like it's the one with the threads. I could be wrong, right? Because if we look here, we look very carefully, it looks like the screws with the thread. Or, you know what, we can just go to the actual website here. We can just type in, if we remember right here, we can just type in this website right, if I can get this to focus again. There we go, right here. This is the Arctic, support.arctic.ac, and we're gonna go to this website right here. If I get this to focus. There you go. So I'll go to this website right here, and we'll see how it goes. So let's jump over to the computer again. All right, so we are going to go to support.arctic.ac/LF2 360. All right. I think I got the Liquid Freezer 360 Rev 2 because I probably have the latest one. And we're going to install it for the AMD socket AM4, which is for all the Ryzen 3rd Gen that we're using. Do we need preparations? Oh yeah, we got to figure out the airflow that we want, whether we want intake. So it's pre-installed for exhaust. Do I want to use it as exhaust? I could use it as an exhaust, that is true. But originally I had planned to use it as an intake because with my case, if you think about it, the case I have here, I was thinking about putting the radiator here and having the air come in. So that way we have cool air from outside the case getting sucked in here. Then we can have fans on top just exhausting air out, and fan on the bottom pushing air into the case, which is great because the air fan on the bottom is going to push air to the CPU, the GPU, because the GPU is going to be mounted here, and also air is going to rise up naturally, so the fans on top is just going to help pushing air out. So if I were to put the radiator on top, I can also push the air out, which will work too, but then I'm pulling in hot air from the computer case to push it out. So it's not as efficient as putting the radiator here and getting air to push in. So we're going to go with our initial configuration that we have here. So we have to reconfigure the radiator to have air get pushed in. So we will have the stock fans behind the case pushing air in, and then the radiator in front here, and then we'll have fans in front of the radiator, and those are the RGB fans that are going to push air again more into the case. So we have a push-pull, right? So the fans on the outside are going to push air into the radiator, and then the fans behind the radiator are going to pull air out of the radiator into the case. So that's how we're going to have it installed, and that's why it's going to be different than this pre-assembled installation. So we're going to flip it around, and we're going to have air blow in this way. So yeah, we're going to have intake. So it's going to be intake. Oh yeah, so they're talking about the push or pull. Either way, it's going to be. So we're going to use the intake, but we are going to have it. The fans on this side of the case, on this side of the radiator. So here's how we switch the fans. We can configure that. Yeah, there's a lot here that we need to configure. Shoot. I'm wondering now, should I set up, here's the mounting screw. So this is actually a pretty good manual here. And here's the installation, how to put the cooler, and then mounting the bracket. Oh wow, this is very helpful. This is a super helpful website, guys. Like if you're watching this video for how to, you can use this video as reference, but go to this website. This is a really good website. Again, I just went here, Arctic, support.arctic.ac, and then this little card here, it told me to go to this website here, and that's how I got to it right here. LF2-360, right there if you can see it. And then of course we went to the Rev 2 version of the website because we have the Rev 2 version of the cooler. I believe so because I just got it. It should be the newest one. So wow, this is very detailed instructions on how to do the installation. Okay, well then. So let's configure this so that it is properly configured. Again, I want this to be on the side of the case pulling air in. And I want the Arctic fans to push air through the radiator. So I want the fans to push air in through the radiator. So is there anyone that has it pushing in air through the radiator? So right now, this is configured with the Arctic label like this. So let me see. So right now we are configured. Let me show you the top view so we can see here. So right now this is configured this way, and air right now is currently going this way. I don't want this. I actually want air going this way, and I want these fans on this side as well. So let's flip the fans this side and flip. So we're going to flip the fans completely over this way. So right now air is flowing this way. We want air is flowing this way, but we also want the fans on this side because I want to hide the fans. Interesting. I want to hide the fans behind. So I have a pretty interesting setup, right? Because for me, it's going to be a little tricky because of the way I want to install it in the case. Because I want to actually install it behind the part, the white, right? I want to install the fans behind the white. And I want to mount the radiators directly to the white area. So we might not need to worry about this part first. So let's not worry about setting up the radiator as much. let me think about this. Do I want to set up the radiator before I set up the... I really should mount this to the motherboard first because it's very hard to do afterwards. I'm trying to think, do I want to install this to the motherboard first or install this radiator to my case first? Decisions. If I install this, because I'm gonna be swinging this back and forth, left and right. Is that gonna be a problem when I am having this already mounted to the CPU? Probably a better idea to install this first, to be honest. Just because it's my first time installing it and I'm going to be twisting and pulling this a lot. So I want to make sure I install this in the case properly. And then I can worry about installing this to the motherboard later. I can even install it outside of the case, kind of. It's a little bit tricky. Because how do I get to the back of the motherboard to hold the mounting plate? Because eventually, if we look over here, eventually when we install the CPU, you see how we have to take out the stock retention brackets here. And you see how this is the plate. So underneath, this is the plate, the original plate that came with my motherboard. But this plate is underneath the motherboard. So I have to support the plate and then install the cooler on top of the plate. Are we using those little brackets? I don't see those little brackets. I don't see them using this little bracket. Oh, yes, so this little bracket is right here. It's attached to, we're gonna attach that to the pump. So where do they attach the brackets to the pump? So they say here mounting clips. I need these, but where is it telling me to actually screw them on? They're missing a step because you actually need to install the mounting clips onto the pump head. Right here it's already installed. I guess this step here, step 2, is kind of doing both. Peeling this off plus also putting the bracket on. Yeah, they tell us to screw down here, but they're missing a part where you install the bracket to the pump, right? Because right here, if you look at the top view, the pump doesn't have the bracket yet. So we will have to install these brackets onto the pump right here. So these brackets need to go onto the pump and they need to be facing inwards like this, but upside down. So like this on this side, and then you have another one right here on this side. So these have to be installed this way. So they're totally missing this step on the online manual, you see? They didn't say anywhere where you're supposed to put the brackets on. So we'll have to put that on. So I'm thinking, let's install the radiator into our case first. It's gonna be messy because I didn't intend to install the radiator first. That means I have to put my big computer case here, install the radiator for you guys, install the fans in that configuration, and then mount my CPU in. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually cover up this part with the cardboard, so that way I don't scratch this pump end while I'm doing the installation. So let me grab this cardboard from here. So we're going to need this piece to cover it up. So let me get a top view for you guys. So we're just going to cover this back here. That way we won't do any damage to this component here while we are fuddling with the cooler in our case. So I'm going to regret this a little bit because I know it's harder to install this onto the motherboard when the cooler is in the case. But at the same time, I know I'm going to fidget around a lot with the radiator and how to install the fans and everything because this is my first time installing it. I don't want to put pressure onto the CPU and motherboard while I'm installing the radiator. So, either that or I test fit this into the case so I know how everything is going to go, and then we can install this afterwards. We'll see, we'll see. Okay, so, oh my gosh, so many screws. And then I don't want to mix up these screws with the screws that came with the motherboard. So let's separate them out. Okay, so here's my tray of screws. So let's do this. Let's put all the motherboard screws on this side. Yep, these are all motherboard screws. And then on this side, everything related to the cooler over here. That way I don't get them confused and I don't lose them. They're all in one place. Just trying to be as organized as possible, especially since this is my first time installing an AIO cooler. These also, and then of course our washers. We'll leave the washers. Yes, they're magnetic, good. So all of our washers, we got 12 of them. We know we got them all. Put them back here. Washers, 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 washers. Washers. Washers are a good dividing line between the two sets of screws too. Again, motherboard screws and then cooler screws on this side right here. We got two brackets. Here's the two brackets. There you go. And then I don't know what this thing is here. And we got the thermal paste. Alright. Alright, and then the manual we'll leave on the side. Okay, let's take this out for a second. Alright. So we will have to put our case down here and install this into our computer case. This is going to be, it's going to be a little bit difficult, guys. Bear with me because the case is a little bit big and I wasn't planning to use this part of my desk for the case, but we're going to make it happen. So hold tight, hang on tight. We're going to grab the case right now. So I'm going to grab the computer case and we're going to test fit our cooler onto the computer case. Didn't think this through very well, but it's a live video, so we're going to make it happen. We're going to make it happen, guys. So let me move this table back here so I have some space to work with. All right. And then I shall need to bring my computer case to the front so we can test fit the cooler onto the computer case. Oh boy. This will be interesting. Very much interesting. Or if I stand here, can you guys, ooh, if I stand here and I have, oh, okay. So we're going to go back. We're going to do this. Let me see. Because this case is probably better if it's upright. And if I put the case in front, you're not going to be able to see my face. So let's do this. Let's clean this desk here. And let's install the radiator on this desk back here. That means I shall put the motherboard up here for the time being. Alright, here's our motherboard with the CPU installed. We'll put this up here for the time being. And then our tray of screws we'll put up here as well. All this other stuff here for the installation. I'm going to move it around so we have room to work with. Alright, our little camera here. Oh boy. Sorry guys. Little bit of reorganization because you know when you're installing the radiator, you gotta plan this out. Do you want to put the radiator into the case first, or you want to put the pump onto the CPU first? In this case, we're gonna try to test fit the radiator. So I'm gonna move stuff around so that I can test fit the radiator onto the case. All right, move this stuff over. Hang tight, guys. Hang tight. All right. Almost there. Almost there. And it's hot today, jeez. All right. So we got our table cleared out a little bit here. Now we can bring the case up. Here's our Lee & Lee computer case. All right, here it is. And then we shall switch to the view where you guys can see me work on the case. Okay, perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. Okay, get my cell phone. Here's the cell phone. And switch over to the cell phone view. All right, so here's the computer case, guys. The Lee & Lee Lee & Lee 011 XL computer case in white. So here's the front, and then here's the side panel right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up this case. Easy as just taking out these two thumb screws. Well, actually just loosen them because they kind of get held there. And then you got to pull this tab down while you slide this out. So pull this down, pull this forward, and then just lift this up. So once this top is lifted up, the case is really easy to work with because pretty much all these panels, 1, 2, and the front, they all slide up and come out. So like this back one, all I do is slide it up. If I can do it with one hand, it's a little bit tricky with one hand because that one is a heavy panel. So the front glass here, again, just lifting this up and pulling it out. There you go. That's the tempered glass right there. And the front right here, you can see right here, this one, again, just simply pull up and out. So lift up and forward, and we're gonna take it out. Make sure we don't scratch it. All right. Cool. All right. So now that is removed. So we got the fronts removed and the side removed. And then let's see if I can remove the back with one hand now. There's the back. One-handed. Can I do this? Nope. I gotta put this camera down. Just one moment. Use two hands here. Lift it up. There we go. And this comes out just like that. Put this down to the side. There we go. So we got the back panel out here. And we're gonna take out this plate here just to kind of make things easier to work with. So 4 screws so this thing can come out. Let's take that out real quick. So just take out these 4 screws, see the best way to do this so that it doesn't fall on me. Maybe we can lay this case down. Oh, you know what? I'm just going to take out these screws really quick to hold tight while I take out these screws. And we should be good to go. So let's take out these 4 screws. There's 1. There's 2. So hold tight. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but this is a very minor thing. Let's put these screws in there so I don't lose them. One more screw. All right, cool. So I'll show you what I just did. So I took out this screw here, and down here I took out this screw and this screw. So now once those 4 screws are open, all I do is I can just kind of slide this panel up, maybe in. Oh yeah, pull it out. Slightly pull this out a little bit. And once I pull it out, I can lift this up because the feet down here locks it in. And I take out this panel here. All right, so now we free up the back there. So you see back here, we have about 50 millimeters of space. So I'm thinking about mounting the fans back here and then the radiator right here. And then we have some extra RGB fans in front of the radiator. That's for the bling, right? So we actually have to have the fans here pulling air from outside into the case this way. So we need to remove these brackets here because these brackets are for SSDs, and we won't need these brackets. So I'm wondering if the radiator, yeah, the radiator won't go up here. It's going to go down here. Yeah, so leave space up here for all the wires and stuff. I believe that's how it's supposed to be installed. So we might need to consult the Lee & Lee manual for that. Let's take a look at the Lee & Lee manual real quick. So here's the Lee & Lee manual that we're looking at. Show you the manual. And we want to make sure we're installing the fan correctly. So let's see how we're installing the fan, the radiator and the fans for it. So this is the wiring of the motherboard. We're not quite there yet. We are wanting to see how we want to install the fans. That's not helpful. That's not helpful. Huh. Okay, here it is. This is what we need. Okay, so yeah, so we don't use the space up here for the fan. We use the space down here. So these three spots up here. In other words, we don't worry about this panel for the fans. We just worry about this, this, and this. So those are this, and this. That's where the fans are going to go. So we're going to push these tabs in, I believe. Yeah, so once we push these tabs in here, there's 2 tabs per SSD bracket. So we're just going to pull them in this way. And there's a little tension clip right there. I don't know if you can see it. But basically, you're going to pull in here, and that loosens it. So we got to be careful because a lot of people are known for breaking these tabs as they do the installation. So just a little tension is all you need. So yep, that's it. And this one comes right out. Really high quality components for Lee & Lee cases. So there we go. That's this one. We'll put this down right here. And then we'll do the same thing down the line here. Boop. There we go. Right there. And one more down here. Let's see if I can do this with this hand over here. Right there. Just lightly. I don't want to break the brackets because people have said the brackets are very easy to break. There's another one. And then we got one last one right here. There we go. One. And this one has a bunch of wires nested right here too. So let's get to that. There we go. So that comes out, maybe. Did I push this one back in? Oh, the wires are making it difficult too. Because the wires aren't providing the resistance. There you go. So I just lift that out, pull it out. Okay. We are good. So we know, wow, so all these wires here, we probably want to untuck these wires here so we have room to mount the radiators. It's going to get a little bit messy here, guys, because we need space to mount the radiator. So I'll just loosen up all these wires. There we go. These are the USB headers. So they're here for shipping, but they're going to get in our way when we install the radiator. So take out these right here. There we go. So yeah, there we go. That frees up the room. So now we know, we can see what we're doing. This cable, we'll just put this to the side here. Okay, so we got room back here. We don't have room back here for the radiator and the fan, but we just have the room here for the fan. So we're gonna have fan pushing air into the case this way. So air is gonna come in from the back and to the front. So like you see here, this is the front of the case. Air is gonna come in this way through here. And then, so we're gonna have a push-pull configuration. There's gonna be fans back here pushing through the radiator. The radiator is gonna sit right here, and then we're gonna have fans in front here pulling air into the case again. And the fans in front, those are gonna be the RGB fans. All right, so let's see how we're gonna do this. So here is our radiator. And again, the radiator, oops. So again, the radiator is going to be on the other side. Yep, and then we're going to remove the fans. Okay, tricky. So first, let's remove the fans. So how do we take out the fans? Let's consult our website again. All right, so back to the website here. So let's see if we can figure this part out. So this is how it's installed. So we want to configure it as intake, but we want the fans to be in the front here. So basically, to switch from exhaust to intake, we're going to need to take out the fans, flip them. In our case, we're going to flip them and also reverse the side, and then screw them back in. Okay, so it's just all these screws need to come out. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and take out all those screws. And then, so let's see if I can get a good view for you guys. All right, so here's, let's take the bag out. Take the cat out of the bag. Wish I could get a better view of all this. Yep. All right, let's take out the screws. So here's the radiator. I'm just take out the bag, so then we can unscrew it. All right. Here's our beautiful radiator. All right. Sorry, wrong camera angle. You guys didn't see what I was doing. Oh, also wrong camera angle. There we go. Okay, so here's our radiator, and we took it out of the bag. So we're just gonna take out these screws here so that we can flip the fans to the other side. Actually, we're gonna mount the fans to the back here directly, and then we'll mount the radiator in front. So we'll mount the radiator in front here, and then we'll have fans in front of the radiator. So yeah, it's gonna be a quite interesting setup. Let's see if we can pull this off, guys. Let's see if we can pull this off. So let's take out these fans here, and you notice there's like a little bit of a ring here. These are washers. So we're just gonna take out the fans, nice and easy here. Oh yeah, nope, very light, easy to pull out. So long screws, and then the washer part of the fans. Oh, the washers are part of the fans. So that makes it very simple. You don't have to worry about extra hardware. So we're just gonna take out these screws here. Perfect. And yeah, they're all the same length of screws, and pretty much a bunch of screws. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times 2, 12 screws to worry about. So I'll do this really quickly here. So take out the screws, and we're gonna mount the fans behind the radiator, but mount them directly to the computer case. Be interesting, see how this works out. We shall find out. This is going to be a very complicated installation indeed. First time installing an all-in-one cooler. Not so easy, not as easy as I thought, guys. Thanks for being patient with me as we figure this out together here. So now we're on this side over here. Still taking out all these screws here. So if I can show you this angle right here. Yep, there we are. Just unscrewing this one right here. Okay. And this one right here as well. Almost done. 12 screws. It takes a while to undo all these screws, but you gotta be very precise and careful, because I don't want to, take your time, because I don't want to damage the threads or damage the head of these screws either. So no rush, just take it easy. I know it's a live stream, but there is no rush on the live stream either. Just take it easy, make sure the installation goes well. And here's the last one. There we go. So we gotta remember the orientation of the wire. So how is all this wired? So there's an electric wire, you see, that goes from the pump up through here. No, actually, the wire is actually, whoa, the wire is actually inside the braided component here. So where does the wire go? Okay, so we see wires here on the side of the fan. So if I lift up the fan, maybe we can see the wires a little bit better. Okay, so here's the end of the wire connection. So, okay. So they just go straight down, they connect here. Okay, on the side here, and then on the very top, and then very top there, right to the cooler. Oh wow, so this is very tricky. So the fans pretty much have to be next to the cooler, radiator at the same time, but we gotta install the fans over here and the radiator on this side. So fans on this side, radiator on this side in a push configuration for now. So we want to do that without damaging the connector here. Oh, we can probably unclip this fan here, maybe? Can I unclip the fan so I don't damage it? Let me see if there's a way to unclip the fans. No, not really. Yeah, I gotta kind of keep everything together. So maybe if we put the radiator against the front here, then we can install the fans from behind. There's not much wiggle room for sure. And I don't want the wire to be tugged on here. This is gonna put a strain onto those fans. So can I undo this? No, because if I undo this, oh, I can just undo each fan. Okay, cool. So check this out, guys. So if I undo this connector here, so I'm just gonna lift up this tip here, and that should make it easy to pull out. Yeah, so this one takes out that fan. Then we got another one here on this side. So I'm gonna lift up this one here, right? So I'm gonna lift up here and pull out this connector right here. Yeah, so this is what attaches to the radiator, which attaches to the braided line here. So we can remove those two, and then we can remove this last one down here. We got one more right here to remove. Perfect. So now we can see this is the line for the fans. And then now we can just install the fan. Just remember that the orientation is we want these things to kind of stick up from the bottom. So stick up from the bottom and stick up from the bottom here. And we want them in the pull configuration. So again, this fan comes out here. We want to mount them this way so that it's going to pull fresh air from outside the case and push it through the radiator as it goes into the case. So we're going to install them through the case like this. So it's going to be a little tricky because do we need longer screws? Because there's this little bit of thickness that we have to make room for. And yeah, so, and then of course there's screw holes behind the other side of the radiator too. And this hangs from the top here. As long as the fans are pointing up, the connectors are pointing up, we should be good with running the power through this side coming in. Okay, so let's keep the fans oriented this way. All right, we'll take out the fans because now we know how the fan should be oriented. We'll keep them oriented this way. And then the radiator, we need to mount in the front. Oh boy. Lots to think about, right? So let me move this over here. And then put this down there real quick so we can see what we're doing from this side, right? So this side, we gotta mount the radiator over here. Radiator mounts over here. So let me take the radiator here and mount it on this side. There we go. And then the fans need to be on the other side. So so the question is, how do we run this wire so that we can get the fans on the other side? We just have to loop the wires. Just have to loop this wire over to the other side. Shouldn't be a problem. Let me see. Does it matter which side it goes over? Because if we depending on which side we want this wire Like whether we want it on this side or whether we want it on this side depends on whether we want the fan to sit on this side. Okay, so it has to be on this side. It makes sense because this is the best orientation for the fans because we don't want it to be this way, we just want it this way. So that means we need this wire up here to kind of be on this side over here, but kind of loop through the back. All right, so I'm going to loop this wire from this side over here, and then it's going to go to the back here and power these fans back here. And you see the screw holes here, we're going to mount to the radiator that way. Woo! It's going to be interesting. Can we figure this out? Okay, so let's pop the top here so we have room for the wires to come back. Maybe we need this cap open, maybe we can close it later, I don't know, but let's take this top off for now. So again, these two clips here, we're just going to slightly pull on these things and pull this, this radiator back towards us. So here we go. See if I can do this one-handed. So pull that. A little bit tricky with one hand. We can make it happen. So there's one, and there's another one. Yes, that's loose. I take this bracket out. There we go. So there's the radiator from the other side. So now it makes it easy for us to run the wire from over there to back here, right? So this is the wire for all the fans. There you go. Oh no, is it trapped? Nope, it's not trapped. There it is. So let's split this wire over to the side. Okay, so that wire will run down there, connect to all the fans. So then we just need to mount this cooler properly and then the fans to connect to it. All right, so let's see, how can we arrange this so I can do the installation and you guys can see a little bit better. So let me rotate this baby over at the same time as not dropping anything because the fans are not mounted, the radiator is really not mounted yet, but we should be okay. We're very careful. We rotate this case over for you guys, see what's going on. All right, let's rotate this case over. We're going to pull the table back just a little bit. All right, table's pulled back. Rotate the case over here. There we go. So now you can see this side of it much better. And then get the wide view for you over here. There we go. So the radiator in the front here, we're going to get air pushing through this way. So we're going to do an intake, and we're going to push air through the radiator. And then we'll have these fans pushing air. So you can see the Arctic logo here because, again, when you see this logo, that means the air is going to blow this way, right? So air is going to blow this way. So we're going to mount it this way. And we want these little tails to be pointing up so that they will match up with the wires here. So that's how we're going to install it. And get these USB headers out of the way so it's a little bit easier to install. Very careful not to rip this wire because that's the wire that's going to power all of our fans. We'll leave on this other side for now. And we know that the pigtail needs to be up on this side. And we just want to mount the fans here. Yep, and then the radiator's got attached to it through the other side. And I'm hoping that the screws are long enough to make that connection. It should be. It should be. It really should be. But we will find out if these screws are long enough. So let's see. Let us see. So this one screw needs to attach the radiator as well as the fan. So how do we want the radiator attached? Down there? Yep. So you see all these bolt patterns. Well, actually, we can have a placeholder. This placeholder, this guy. Let's see if there's one that will hold it. Nope. So this is a slight placeholder. Just put the screw here just to hold it so that we can get the alignment right. There we go. So, and then once we start screwing, we're going to lift this up a little bit and screw the fans in. And actually, we probably want to lift this up as high as possible to leave room for the fan in the front, right? But we can't go higher than this, because if we go higher than this, then we have to go to the very top, which is actually okay too if we go to the very top. It doesn't matter too much where we want that, right? We can go all the way to the top, or because if we go to the top, then we have less room down here. It doesn't really matter because we have these fans here that sits far enough away from it. It's just gonna blow air up. So should be okay. I guess it's better if it's a little bit higher. That way these fans can work more to blow the air out. Just a hair higher, would that make a difference? For me, no, it can't, because it's gotta be quite a bit higher. Let me see. Let's see. Can we get these higher if we wanted to? Let's just see. Let's see if the pattern even allows it to get these higher. So if I take that out, and I take this one out over here, can we mount this even higher? If we mount it all the way up here, we still have, yeah, we can mount it all the way up to the top, and the screw patterns will fit as well. Definitely can do that. Does it really matter? I don't think it matters that much. Does it look better to have it up here? Because it has to be way up here. Oh yeah, I don't want it way up here, because then if it's way up here, I barely have room to run the wires for the fan. So I'm definitely going to keep it down here. That way it's easy to get to run the wires over here for the fans. So that's the way I'm going to do it. So let's put the placeholders back here. These are just going to keep the alignment for us while we install the fans down below. Whoops. Alright, let me get the screw out. Where's my screw? Oh, it's underneath the case. There we go. So placeholder right here. Alright. Okay, so the fan with the pigtail pointing up and air blowing in this way. So just like this. And we're gonna have to find the bolt pattern from the other side and screw it in. This be interesting. Should work. So we're gonna try to get into that screw right there. So if we can get this to mount through that, there we go. So there's not a whole lot of meat to grab into the threads, but it's enough. Same thing with this one right here. We're gonna thread it into this hole right here. There we go. Just kind of loosely tighten it there, because I don't know where all the other screws are gonna go. The same thing down here. Now that we got that figured out, I think it's gonna work just fine because there's enough meat to grab into the radiator. Yep, this will be just fine. Perfect. All right, and the last screw right here. Yes. Yeah, and there's room to slide this radiator up and down. Actually, yeah, so we just slide up to the max here. So I'm pushing it up as high as it can go and screwing in the fans. And you don't need to put too much pressure because these fans are plastic right here. You don't want to push too much in here because if you can see right here, if you tighten them too tight, it's going to break the flanger. So just a little bit of force is all we need for the fan to stick. So just a little bit of pressure, not too much. Yeah, because you can see it start to deform right away. It's just a little bit of pressure. There you go. So then now we can put the other fans just like this. Remember the pigtail, right? This one right here, because that's where all the power is going to go down to. And then this orientation, because air is going to come in from the side of the case and push through the radiator. Yeah. So that will be good. Very good. So I'll stick with the pigtail right there. There we go. Perfect. Let's make sure that the wire's in there. Yep. Through to the radiator. Very nice. So I guess it's better to install the radiator first and then the CPU to the motherboard. So that means we'll have to take out this thing so that we can hold the bracket behind the motherboard while we screw it in. A little bit trickier to install the pump with the motherboard inside the case versus installing the pump to the motherboard, the CPU, when it's outside the case. But in our situation, it's better to install it in the case because we can get the radiator mount exactly the way we want it to. So radiator's getting mounted right now. Everything's good. Not too much force on these screws, just very light torque there. Okay, so now we can actually take out these placeholder. We don't need this placeholder up here anymore because all these other screws, we got 8 screws already holding up the radiator. Perfect. All right. So our last one here, again, pigtail up and air blowing from this way into the case. So it's going to go through the radiator. Boom. Just like that. Make sure we get that, align like that, and then we can go ahead and just screw these in. There we go. Just barely need any resistance just to hold it in there. It's also holding the radiator too, so it's doing two purpose. These screws here, they aren't just holding the fans in, but obviously they're holding the radiator that's on the other side as well. So just a little bit of force, not too much. Remember, these fans are plastic. You don't want to damage them. There we go. Just a little bit of force, not too much at all. And the last screw here. There we go. Perfect. So that should hold. So now I can tighten everything. Just right. Keeping the tension, the torque very low on these. Just a little bit of torque. That's all I need. Because these are plastic fans and I definitely don't want to break them. I just want a light amount of tension. Just like that. Very light, very light, very light. Just a tad. Yeah, these are still a little bit loose, so just so I can feel the resistance. Once I feel the resistance of the plastic, I back off. That's all I need, just to feel the resistance and back off. There we go. Very nice. Yep, in the star pattern here. That just enough. Perfect. So then now I can wire up all these fans because the power comes from the other side, right? So here's the power cable. Let's swing down the power and they should be, yeah. So we gotta figure out how we can get power. Oh, we can route the power through this shroud here. That way we can close the top even. So let's see if I can route the power through here. Maybe this will be a good way to route the power. I'm not sure yet. But if I route the power through here, would it be enough room? Yeah. Right here to route to the fans. And then would I be able, so this top one here, my question is, will I be able to install this bracket with this radiator mounted here? Nope, can't install the bracket anyway. So that's gonna look ugly if there's gonna be a big gap here pointing to the other side. Would that look ugly? Because I can't close that gap there? Maybe, but then I have the other part of the case here. I don't think it would look bad, and this is very top. But boy, I would sure like to see that gap close off. And there's really no way I think I can install this there. There's no way unless we push the fans down just a hair, then I can close this. Yes, okay. So this will work. Let me just push the fans. Let me loosen the fans a little bit, so then we can slide everything down just a hair. Now I can close that bracket on top. That would look real clean. That would look really clean. So just kind of loosen these so that we can push the radiator down just a tad. I think there's room for it to slide down just enough so that I can close that lid at top. Yep, there we go. So you see how it slides down? Perfect. So now I can close this lid at the top here. Yay! And then make these things clip in. There we go. Alright, so those things are clipped in, so this looks good. And then I want to push this up here. That way I maximize the space down below here for, I just want to lift this up a little bit, right? Because we have fans over here that are going to push air up. So it doesn't really matter, but I just want to push this up just a hair. That way there's room for the air to come out here to get the fans to push it up. Doesn't really matter, but it's just me being very, very particular. And then this wire will go to the back here to power the fans. I think that looks good. Yeah. Do I want a strain relief? Maybe loop this around here just a tad for extra strain relief. Do you think it's necessary, guys? I don't think it matters. Because how does that wire attach? I'm turning the light here so we can see. It's attached right there. I guess it doesn't really matter too much. You can loop it around, or we can just go underneath like that. Maybe around top would just look a tad cleaner, I think, if we have enough space. So let me route the wires coming back out of here. So what's holding up these guys here on this side? Oh, there we go. I'm gonna pull these wires through here. All right, over here, that'll be just a little bit of a nicer strain relief if I bring the wires up through here, right? Just like that. And then we'll have wires come over here. Does that look better to have it come up this way? Or should I just have it come from the bottom? Probably looks better this way, because then it doesn't get in the way of the fans that are mounted in front here. Because remember, we're gonna have RGB fans mounted in the front. So it's better to have this out of the way here. And then goes to the back here. So let's tuck this through the back here. One-handed tuck. All right, there we go. Get this fans, power through the other side. There we go. Perfect. So these will connect up to the fans back here. Oops. There you go. So we can see how these will line up over here. Get this in focus for you guys. Right there. So now we can connect these guys to the fans. Yep. That should work just fine. Let's connect these here. And so they were nicely netted inside behind the screws. We can make it nicely netted later if we need to, but for now I just care about getting these connected. But if you want to, we'll hide these behind the screws later if we want to make it look cleaner. But for now, we just need to power up the fans. Alright, so that's how the fans are getting powered. And then we can tuck these in here. Tuck these in here. These are little fragile wires, guys. You gotta be a little bit careful about these wires. Yeah, I kind of do want to stick these behind these now. See if I can hold it a little bit better and neater too. So do I want to tighten them now? Put the wire right behind here. Yeah, that'll clean it up quite a bit. Again, these fans are still loose, so I can adjust. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start tightening down these fans on this side. Perfect. Right there. So now the radiators are held by the screws, and the fans are too. So now I can take out this screw up here and route this wire behind the screw, so the wires are tucked closer to the fans. Just a little bit of like small details here. I want to make sure I don't tug on the wire too much from the other side. It looks like I might be tugging it on, might be just tugging on it here. Do I want that extra tension? Ooh, yeah, I probably don't want that tension to that wire. You can see, okay, so if I put the wire through that way, you can see there's a little bit of tension here. Unless I drop this wire underneath the piping over here, then there will be less tension. I might actually have to do that. Let's actually pull the wires back over. Yep, didn't think about that. So now we'll have to undo these wires here. Yep, you think this guy is making it up as he goes along? I am. Yeah, what are you talking about? You think these? Yeah, I'm making this up as I go about trying to figure out how this works. When your air conditioner is on, where do you want to focus on Amazon customer? The door knobs. All right. I have no idea what the comment meant. Sorry, guys. All right, so let's pull this over out here. Okay, perfect. So now let's route the wires back. So what I'm trying to figure out is this side here. So we don't want to put this extra tension right above here. So we're going to need, turn the light here, we're going to have this go underneath. So pulling out the wires again. There we go. So having the wires go underneath. So just so I have like another 1/4 inch of extra wire, so we're not tugging on the wire. That's important to me. So here we go, tucking this under. Okay, so now I can tuck the wires over this side, and I'll have just a little bit more wire. All right, let's put the fan connectors through this side, just like that. Okay, there we go. So now we'll wire up the fans one more time. We should be good this time. Yep, so now we will be able to run the fans, connect them like that, connect this fan like that, and then connect the last fan just like this. And the important thing is being able to tuck the wires in behind the screws so that it's very clean, right? So we should have enough room now to tuck the wires in because of the way we place the wires in the front. So see how the wire right here is wrapped behind the screw? That way it just makes it neater so that we can tuck the wires in and have all the wires really close to the fans here, right? Just attach everything behind the screws and let the screws hold the wires. So here, this is probably a better angle for you guys to see, just like that. So we're going to open up this screw and get the wires underneath there to hold this connector in. So undo this screw, push the wire underneath. So maybe both these wires can go underneath the fan. So back here, you see there's a little bit of room right back there. And we just want to put the wires so it's behind there. I think I caught one of the wires. Oh, yeah. Don't want to split the wires. You see how the wires are kind of split? Don't want to do that. Definitely don't want to do that. Just push these in a little bit. There we go. And then also this wire. Tuck this wire behind there too. That's super clean now. There we go. Actually, I only need to do it for this one. Right? And that's tidy enough. Right there. So now we can tidy this one up. And then we can tidy this one on top up now. right there. Yep. So now the wires are nice and tidy. You can have this guy right here, same thing right this. Stuck the wires behind the screw here. And then the second wire, this one we can actually have this second wire also behind this screw here, so this is a little bit more tidy. Why not? There we go. So just so that we have the wires right tucked behind the screws, so it's a little bit extra neat. I mean, it's something that you don't need to do, but it's nice to be able to have the wires behind the screw right here. There we go, just like that. Here, you can get a better angle right here. You can see how the wires are definitely behind the screws. Just like that. And then again, same over here. We actually take out both these screws now, so we know what we're doing. So get the wires right behind it. Yep. Both these wires behind. Just like that. Yep. So tighten that down. Very nice. And then that wire just behind the screw, just like that. Looking good. Tightening it down there as well. Cool. And then the last one, yeah, we can put the last one behind this wire down here just to hide keep everything secured, like so. I don't know if you can see that one. Yeah, that one, a little bit hard to see. Remove that down. There you go. Just so that the last wire here is secured and tucked away. But yeah, that's fine. Okay, so our radiator is now mounted with these fans back here. Let's make sure we just give these a little bit of tension. Right when I feel that the tension, I just back off right away. So not too tight. And same for all the ones up here. Let's get that in focus. Just like that. Yep. Just enough torque. Just barely. Whoops. There you go. Same with this one right here. Just a little bit of torque. Very light amount of torque. Man, says Empathic, Amazon customer, he is making it up. Well, this is kind of like, you can install this however you want. Like making it up or not, you need to install the radiator on one side of the case and the fans on this other side, and it's up to you however you want to install this, right? So you guys gotta figure out the best way to install it. And I'm making it up this way because I think this is the best way to install it. There's really no instructions because the cooler comes from a different brand and the case comes from a totally different brand. So you gotta figure out what works, right? So you can install many different ways, and I'm installing it this way because I think this is the most optimal way, right? Because that way, these fans are hidden from the front view. Then in the front view, you see the radiator here, but then there's room now for me to mount my RGB fans in front of the radiator. So those fans are going to be in the pool configuration, pulling air inside, and that's going to make the case look really nice because those are the RGB fans. So these in the back are pulling air in and pushing it through the radiator, and then in front you're going to have fans pulling air out of the radiator and into the case. So that's how we're going to have that set up. It's going to look really sweet, guys. It's going to look really sweet, I'll tell you that. So that's that. And let's go ahead. So now we can actually install this onto the motherboard. Yeah. Yep, I think we're there. We're there. So now this is the tricky part, is how to install this onto the motherboard. So that's why we're here to figure it out, guys. So we need to be able to hold the bracket from behind here. So I'm wondering how we can take these cases off so I can hold the bracket to install the motherboard. Oh, actually, is this long enough to install the motherboard onto the motherboard? It's gonna be tricky. Like if I wanted to install this pump onto the motherboard, oh boy. And this pump needs to be oriented in a particular way too. So how do I install it onto the motherboard? Oh, I can put I can kind of put this on a table, install this to the motherboard, and then install the motherboard to the case. Let me think about how to best do that. Yep. Yeah, empathic. Yeah, thanks for understanding. I mean, you can install this any way you want, but I'm just trying to find the best way to install it. It's tricky because the manual says, the manual doesn't say much on how to install it. You just gotta figure out the best way to install it for your case. So now I'm trying to figure out if I want to install this onto my motherboard first and then install the motherboard onto here. Otherwise, if I install the motherboard first, I have to find a way to hold the bracket from back here, which is actually not bad if I just hold the bracket from back here, because I have to hold the bracket that mounts this onto the front. So that might work out if I install the motherboard first. Yeah, and then it's a little bit tricky to tuck my hand up back here and hold it. Lots to think about, So at least we know that this back is figured out. So let's close up the back. Here, let's just lay this computer down. I don't want to cut any wires as we work on the front of the case. So make sure these smaller wires here are tucked away so they don't get damaged if I spin the case around and all that. So yeah, so these wires, gotta make sure they're nicely tucked away, right? So we're gonna lay the case down. So let's lay this case down. Let's see what we got to work with here. So let's lay this case down. All right. So the case is now laid down. Let me see if I can get a top angle for you of the computer. The best way to get a top view for you. See if I can get a top view. So I got the monitor, the camera here. I can put it in the front so you can see what I'm doing up here. And installing this onto the motherboard. Shouldn't be too difficult to get my hand here to hold the bracket. Okay, so we're gonna try. Okay, let's install the motherboard and let's install this on top of the motherboard. This is gonna be tricky, guys. Let me turn off the flash here, see if it looks better without the flash. Yeah, so install the motherboard, then put this onto the motherboard. That means I have to have my hand behind here, some tape to hold the bracket as I install this onto that. Let's see. Okay. Well, is there a bracket? So, okay, now let's go back and let's see how we're supposed to actually install it. So, let me switch over to the installation guide. And we're gonna figure this out, guys. We're gonna figure out how to get this to work. So we got the fans installed the way we wanted. And now we really need to figure out, oh, here. Okay, so we're gonna put these little things into the pump first. And then we take these guys out, put the cooler, put the thermal paste on there, take this out. So this is the hard part. So how do you do this screw here without holding the back plate? Because you have to hold the back plate to be able to screw this down. And that's the hardest part, to hold the back plate. Because you can't reach behind the computer case to hold the back plate to be able to screw that in. That's the trickiest part. I'm trying to figure out if I want to do that on the table here. Okay, perfect. I can do it. I can do it. So this is how we're going to do it. We're going to put a box here. And this box is the motherboard box that we're going to install the CPU cooler on the motherboard box. Perfect. Check this out, guys. So we are going to make this work. We're going to make this work by moving this camera on top so you guys can see what I'm doing. So give me 1 second as I move this camera over. That way you can have a top-down view of the installation. All right. Almost there. Hang tight, guys. Hang tight. All right. So just get the angle for you guys. So we got a top-down angle. There we go. We got a top-down angle so you can see what I'm doing. Let me put a sandbag so my camera doesn't roll all over the place. Okay, so how are we doing here? Is this straight? No, this is not straight. Gonna move this a little bit down lower. 1 second. I'm gonna make this work. Making this work. Making this work. Hashtag making it work. All right, make sure I sandbag my light stand. There we go. So now you can see a top-down view of the installation. Hey, you can see my camera. Let me move this up a little bit so the camera is not in the shot. There we go. And then move this a little bit to the side so it's not in the shot either. Little details, right? Little details. One second. We're gonna make this work. Don't worry, guys. We're gonna make it work. We shall make it work. All right, there's that. See, the bracket's not in the video anymore. Kind of, but you don't care about that little bracket, do you? If you do, I'm gonna make that work too. Tighten all this. All right. Sweet. All right. Move this down a little bit more. 1 second. See if we can, camera's right there. All right, so we can move this desk up a little bit now. All right, so now we can see how we're going to install this pump onto the motherboard. So we're going to use the famous motherboard box here, right here. So then we can install this pump onto the motherboard that way. So when the motherboard is resting on this box, there is easy way to hold the bracket down for us. All right, so we're getting really close. So let's see what orientation we want for this pump. So, gotta be careful here. So this is twisted this way, so we can see this cable here. Let me actually move camera over here just a tad more so you can see, there you go. So you can kind of see what's going on here. A little bit messy, I apologize. There we go. Should be better now, right? Okay, so here's the radiator. We got the radiator here, and then we take this out of the bag here just for a moment, because we don't want to scratch this surface here. Very careful, you don't want to damage that. So we're gonna see if we oriented this properly. So we're gonna orient this. Should we orientate it this way to the side, or do we want to orient this upside down like this, or how does this install? Does this go upside down? We gotta figure out the orientation. Oh, looking at the computer. All right, so check out this. So you see how in the installation right here, you see this is the AMD installation. You see how this mini VRM fan is pointing up? It's gonna be tricky to point this up towards the front of the motherboard, because that means twisting these wires around a lot. So okay, so let us see if we can twist that wire to the top view. So here's the top view, and to get that orientation, we need to twist this so it's like this, right? Oh man, there's like a lot of tension on these poor little wires, but I think that will work. Yeah. So it's gonna go down like this. Is there any better way to tuck this, maybe this way? Oh, that looks a little bit better. That looks cleaner. So we could tuck it down like this. Yeah, that will work. Yes, and that way the VRM is blowing the fan. It should actually be this way, shouldn't it? All right, we gotta figure out how we want the VRMs to get blown. Okay, the VRM is definitely on the top. Okay, so the reason why we know the VRM needs air on the top is, let me show you. Let me put this back in here so it's protected, and I'll show you what I mean. Let's protect this real quick. Put this back here. Yep, do your thing, man. I know, I'm trying, my friend. It's a lot of work trying to figure this out because, you know, it comes with instructions on how to install it. You gotta figure out how to make it work for your particular case. So here's the motherboard. We got the motherboard and the CPU figured out earlier, remember? So it's gonna go in this way. And then, you know, this is a VRM right here, and this is a VRM. So we definitely want the small VRM fans to point up this way. So that's how we know we want the pump to point that up this way. So that's how we're gonna do it. So now we can go ahead and follow the instructions on the screen, which means to take out these guys here and then install our support brackets. So we're good, we're good. We're making progress, guys. All right, so let's go back to the instructions here. So the instructions here, basically we're gonna go up to here. So the first part is this one right here. We gotta install these little brackets on top of our cooler. Beautiful. So we are finally at that stage. So here is our cooler. Let me show the top-down view so you can see what I'm doing here. So here's our cooler, and we need to install those brackets onto our cooler. All right, we are making progress. So here is our cooler, and we need to install these little brackets. So this bracket right here, yep, and just basically one screw right through there should take care of this. And then we have another one on this side, just like that. Yep. So let me see if I can zoom in a little bit more for you. Nope, that's about. Let me make it a little bit brighter so you can see better. I think that should help, right? Oops, too bright. And make it focus right there. Yep, so we're gonna install this right here, both sides. So we need, which screw do we use for this? We use the screws for mounting clip. So again, going back to this reference here, we need to use these screws right here. Screws for mounting clip. You see how those two screws in? There's just a little piece here that flaps open to secure it too. So I don't know where this is. Oh, this is a little wire. Ah, the wire. So the wire goes above the bracket. So right here, boom, wires on top. Okay, very cool. Very cool. So what they're saying is this wire goes over here after you put the bracket, not before. Okay, so bracket is here, and we use the screws with the threads. So I'm wondering which screws those are. Screws for mounting clip. We gotta find the right screws that they're talking about. They're definitely not talking about this long one. Yeah, and the manual for this is very difficult. We gotta find out which screws they're talking about now. So which screw are we gonna use for this installation? Yeah, I'm gonna look for the right screws. If you can see my pile right here, trying to find the right screw for it. It's the short one. It's either this one, oh, or it could be this one. No, it's not this one because these are too big for the threads. This is probably too deep, so I think it's probably gonna be maybe this one. All right, let me see if we can show you a different camera angle so you can see my collections of screws here. Hopefully this camera angle will help. Let me change the camera angle once again. For you guys' viewing pleasure, right here, all the screws, right there. So gotta find which screw to use, right? So they want, I'm thinking it's this screw right here. It's probably this screw. It's the same as this screw. This one is too big. There's so many of these screws, which makes me wonder if it's the right one, but it has to be. Unless this one has a bigger thread than this one. Are these threads the same? They look all the same. Oh! Maybe it's this guy. Oh, this is the same guy. Yeah, they're all the same. Yeah, it has to be this guy. They don't tell me that. They didn't say that we had so many of these in the beginning, did it? Let's jump over to the computer again. So how many screws are we supposed to have of these screws for mounting clips? Did we get a lot of those? Package content. So we get this. So screws for mounting clip, we're only supposed to have 2 of these. Screws for radiator, we have 12. Screws for fan, we got 12 of those. Mounting clip. So we're supposed to only have 2 of these screws for mounting clip. So there's supposed to be only 2 of those particular screws. So we gotta look for 2 screws that are unique, and there's only 2 of them. Oh man, this is hard. This is tough. Where do we find just those 2 screws? There's only 2 of them, huh? Let's only be 2. Probably. Yes, only 2. Are these it? Oh, maybe it's this one. Nope, because this one is too thick. Unless they gave me 14 of the screws for radiator. How many? Okay, let's turn on the light so we can count these a little bit better. So how many of these do we have here? So we got 1 of this, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are these the same? 6. Oh, here's a, nope, 7, 8, 9. Are you guys seeing these? Yep. 9, 10, 11, and 12. So those are the 12. Where are the screws for mounting clips? Screws for mounting clip. And could it be this one? No. There's 12 of those. We're gonna leave those alone. These are fan screws right here. Screws from, oh, we got 2 of these. I think these are it. I think these might be it because we got 2 of these guys here, and they're kind of long. I think this is it. Screws for mounting clip. I think these might be it. Because we only got 2 of those. Everything else, we got like 4 of these longer ones. That's it, guys. This is it. These are the screws for mounting clip. Right there. Can you guys see it? Is it focused enough? So I found them. It's these guys right here. These are the freaking screws for mounting clip. Right there. It has to be these. Because there's 4 of these ones. There's 12 of these guys. These are fan screws. Wow. Alright, so we got the screws. We finally figured out the screws. Alright, let's go ahead and install it. Let me give you my top-down view. So now that we finally found the right screw, let's screw this guy down in here. Perfect. Alright, finally got the right screw. Let me get this in focus for you guys. Yep, this is it. Oh man, finding the right screw is difficult. Because they should have packed them separately or something. Or maybe they did, and I just kind of mixed up with all the screws together. Anyway, that's one. And here's the other bracket. Remember, the wire goes over the bracket. So that way, we screw this first, and we put the wire on top the bracket. All right, again, screw for mounting clip. It's the all threaded screw. There's only 2 of these in the kit. Can't go wrong. There we go. Jeez. So screwing this in. All right, there we go. There we have it. There we have it over here. Sweet. All right, and then we're gonna put a little bit of thermal paste, plop this baby in there. We should be good to go, I think. All right, let's see what the next step is. We already got these installed. Let me tighten these a little bit. Again, not too much, just a little bit of torque, and then just don't overdo it because everything's plastic, guys. Everything is plastic. Okay, so hopping over to the computer help screen again. So these are all of our components. AM4 installation. We adjusted the fan. We installed a bracket. We put the wire on top of the bracket. So make sure the wire's on top of the bracket, just like this. All right. So we get the wire on top of the bracket. And then unscrew this from the computer motherboard. Put the thermal paste. Remove the shielding. And we're going to screw to the outside edge because we're using all the outside screw holes, I believe. Right? Does this show? I thought this image was going to refresh. How come it's not playing anymore? Yeah, I think it's the outside screw holes. And these are the ones that have a shaft here with no threads. Yep. That's it. All right. And these are where you put the washers in front. Screw the radiator in. All right. Okay. Interesting. So I'm wondering if I should use the paste that comes with this kit or use my own paste, because I kind of like my own paste better. But at the same time, yeah, I know my own paste is better than the paste that it comes with, which is the paste that comes with the Noctua NH14. So let me put my own paste on there, and then we'll screw this in. So hold tight. All right, getting my own thermal paste. One moment, let me grab my own thermal paste. So the thermal paste that comes with the cooler is okay, guys, but based on a lot of reviews, people say if you have your own thermal paste, it's better. And I actually have some thermal paste left over from the Noctua NHD15. It has really good thermal paste, so we're going to use that thermal paste instead. Let me see if I got some left over. Yep, we sure do. So this is from the NHD15 kit. We got some nice thermal paste there, so we're going to use it. The thermal paste that we're going to use today is the Noctua NTH1 thermal paste. So we're going to drop a little bit of that in there. Okay, so let's go to the top-down view again. Maybe we can just kind of zoom in right here so you can see. Let me drop the camera angle so you can really see what's going on here. The camera's going to be in my face, but at the same time, you guys can see a little bit better. So I'd rather you guys see better. There you go. So you can see what's happening right here. So we're going to unscrew these. And because we have the box down below, it's going to hold the bracket from slipping. So if we didn't have this box down here, it's very hard to hold the bracket in the bottom while we screw the pump from the above. So now that we have the bracket above, all we need to do is unscrew these 4 screws here. These are the default mounting bracket that came with the motherboard. So let's undo this screw here. And this one right here as well. Right here. Sorry, the camera's in my face here. But I wanted to show you guys this angle so you can see exactly what I'm doing right on the motherboard. Alright. Okay, is that enough to loosen these guys here? So again, this bracket was part of the motherboard. And you see underneath there, there's a little bracket for, that came with the motherboard as well. So we don't need this bracket. We just need the bracket underneath that we're going to reuse for our installation here. So this comes up right here. This one comes up as well. Right here. There we go. Nice and easy. Comes up. Perfect. All right. So now what we do is put a little thermal paste, and then this baby is going to wrap around this way. You see how the VRM fan, we're going to point the VRM fan above here, so that way it cools this area and this area. See the VRM fan here? It's going to cool the VRMs right here. So I'm going to mount this, install like this. We just want to get the piping the most convenient way so that it has the least amount of resistance. And I think this is it right here. And remember, the fan cable goes over just like this on top. Yep, I think that looks good, just like that. And I think we're good. You just gotta boom, mount it. Maybe, let's see, we want to tuck the wires in this way or tuck the wires in this way. Yeah, I think it looks better when the wires are this way. Yep. See, gotta figure out the best way to mount the wires. And I think this is it right here. Okay, let's put a little thermal paste. Remove thermal paste on the CPU. Remove the backing here. Plop it on and screw it in. That's it. That's the final part of the installation. Okay, thermal paste, lift, and plop on. So I'm not going to use the thermal paste that it comes with. I'm going to use the Noctua one from a different installation, just because I like this stuff a little bit better. So we're going to take out the lid here and just put a small dab of thermal compound right on the CPU. This is always tricky because you don't want to push the syringe too hard, but at the same time there's like a little bit of a pressure. So gotta get just enough to put a dab of the thermal compound onto the CPU without overdoing it. I have a feeling that I'm going to overdo it. So let me squirt this out on like a piece of paper or something, and then I can, once we get the resistance released, then we can put it right onto the CPU. So hold on tight. Hold on tight. Let me get this thermal compound flowing again. One moment, guys. We're going to get the thermal compound flowing, and then I will actually put it onto the CPU. So if you want to see what I'm doing, I'm just kind of working right here off to the side here, just trying to get the thermal compound to flow. So let me move this stuff so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so right here, just kind of test out the thermal compound just so that we can get it to not drip everywhere when I put it on the CPU. And I can see the thermal compound just coming out right now. Perfect. Oh, there we go. Cool, so now we're good. Now I can go back to the top view here and just put a little bit of thermal compound right on the CPU. Let me get the exposure properly set here so you can see a little bit better. There we go. Just a little bit of thermal compound on the CPU. Maybe a little hair more than that. Just a pea size, right? You never want to put too much thermal compound, but you don't want too little either, because you want to have a good transition or a good mating surface between the cooler and the CPU. So I think that might be it right there. Let me square out just a little bit more. There we go. Maybe just a tad more. There we go. I think that should do it. That might be a little bit too much, but I'd rather be on the safe side of having a little bit too much than not having enough. Maybe a little bit too much. Nah, I think it's about right. I think it should be good. So we are going to peel off this label on top and plop. So here we go. So this is the top part here. Focus, focus. Yeah, so we're going to peel this off right here. You can get focus. There we go. So I'm going to peel this off. Please peel off before using, so it's very important. You peel this surface off. Look how nice and smooth this backing is, because that's going to make contact with our CPU. Perfect. So now we're just going to lay this onto the CPU and make sure our piping is the way we want it. See, just like this, or do we want the piping in the other way? Like this? Nope, that looks twisted, so like this. So we're gonna have the piping like this, the wire, the fan just like this, and once this is down, we're just gonna screw it in with these screws that we have here that don't have any threads on the shaft on top, but just threads at the very bottom. And that's it. That's our installation. Alright, here goes nothing. All that prep. Because once you push it down, you don't want to lift this up anymore. So you guys ready? And push it down onto the CPU. And that's it. We've made contact. Alright, let's screw this into the motherboard. So the first part is just so that we just have some contact. Oops. Right there. And then same on this other side. Here. Yep. And we're just getting the thread started right now. Just the thread started. We're not tightening it yet. Just starting the threads. Very important to start the threads. That way, you know you're gonna go down and you're gonna get all the threads. So here's the other side of it. The back. Oops. Gotta be careful not to scratch up the motherboard. Alright, so here we go. There's this one. Yep, looks like it's making connection. Good. Just enough pressure now. I can lift off my hand. Now I'm going to put the last screw right on this side here. So let me see if I can get a better angle for you guys. Let me switch over to this other camera angle. There we go. So you can see what I'm doing right now. Just kind of screwing in the cooler. And we're not really tightening it yet. We're just getting the threads started here. There we go. Just barely starting the threads. Alright, so now that it's kind of tight, now we can start making sure that we are in the star pattern. Let me get the top-down view again. So we're just going to tighten each side, just like that. Doop, doop, doop. Star pattern, so cross up, cross over here. That one's tight already. That one, this one. Because I guess it will bottom out. And once it bottoms out, oh, I feel too much resistance on that one. Don't want to put too much resistance. Yep. Just enough resistance. Yeah, very, very delicate. I don't want to tighten it too much. Very good. Over here. Yeah, this one is always already bottom out. I'm wondering if I should bottom out these guys too. I'm tempted to bottom it out, but at the same time, I don't want to put too much load on the cooler. Yeah, this last one, this back one is already bottom out. So I think I should be safe bottoming out the top parts too. I hope. Yeah, I can bottom it out. Yep, right there. Perfect. So there's some internal resistance. So as long as I bottom it out, it should be good. Yep, right there. This one can have a root. This one can go a little bit more. I'm kind of nervous. I don't want to damage it. This one is already bottomed out. Let me check this one. Yep, this one's already bottom out. This one's already bottom out. Just turn this a little bit more. Yep. Yeah, there it goes. It's bottom out. Arctic freezer pump installed. Let's make sure it's tight now. Yep. All right, so now it is installed. And this cable here, well, let's go back and look at the installation on the website and see how we're doing here. So if we look at the website, we took off the bracket here. We put some thermal paste, our own thermal paste, because I didn't want to use the one that was included. We peeled off this. Then we just screwed down the cooler for orientation. And remember the VRM fan was up pointing at the top there. And that is it. Now they want us to mount the radiator, which we already did because we mounted it on the side, not on the top, right? And now they also want us to put flat washers and then the radiator screw. But we're not going to mount the flat washer because we're not going to mount the radiator directly to the case because the radiator is already mounted through the case by the thin metal between the fans and the radiator. So we're going to have the push-pull configuration. So we're just going to have case fans in front of it, and that's it. Yeah, we don't even need to worry about the fans in front of it right now. So for the sake of installation of the Arctic cooler, it's already installed. we got it installed. So the last thing is mounting this connecting cable, this to the CPU fan on the motherboard. Boom, that's it. So let's zoom in, top view, and here's the cable that we need to put in. Actually, let me point to this view. So here's the cable. And there's the connector right there, if you can see right there. Oops, there it is. Not sure if you can read it. Let me zoom in. See if you can read it better. Zooming in, can you see? Is it focusing? Can you focus? Nah, I'm not getting much luck focusing it on it. But if you look very careful, you will see right there, it says CPU fan 1. Right there, and we're just going to plug it to this 4-pin right here. The cable here, and it can only go one way because you see there's these little grooves here that block us from installing it in any other way. So all we do is install this, put it in like that. Let me turn the light. Is the light on already? Yep. So it only goes in one way. You see the pattern right there. See this pattern here? So it can only go in one way. You slide it down and it should lock itself in. That's it. And that is installed. Our cooler is installed to the CPU, and the CPU is installed into the motherboard. We can install the RAM now and everything. So let's just attach the motherboard onto the case, and that should be good stopping point for tonight. So, whew, that was a lot of work, guys. All right, so let's lift up all this stuff and carefully put the motherboard onto the standoff of the case. So, I think now, let's see, let me go ahead and go to the top view for you guys. So now this is all installed. Yeah, it's looking good, guys. So, whoops, I don't care about this. This is just the filter. So once I lift up the motherboard, we're going to place it into the standoffs on the case and then just screw it down. All right, so lifting up the motherboard. And then we don't need this box anymore because remember the box is to help us because this bracket down here, we needed something to hold it. And the box helped us hold this bracket to the motherboard as we screw the fan on top. And as you see on the motherboard, on the case, we have the standoffs ready for the motherboard. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 standoffs. So just put the motherboard right on top of those standoffs. And you see how the back plate is already installed? That's why I like this motherboard, because the back plate is already installed. You just slide it right into there. And we're just going to line up the standoff points and just screw them down, and we are installed. All right, so the back plate is there. I think I even felt like a magnetic pull. Wow, did it like magnetically pull itself in there for me? Maybe. Oh yeah, it's magnetic. There was like a little magnetic alignment. Nice, so now you know it's really aligned properly. Boom, just put the screws in and we're done, guys. We're done. Let me get some light in here. Well, maybe I'll put this other camera angle here so you can see a little better as I screw down the motherboard. Finally, the motherboard is screwed to the case. So we need the right screws for the motherboard, and they are usually the very small ones with the tiny round heads. Let me grab them for you guys so you know which one I'm talking about. Yeah, so the screws that we're going to work with, they're these tiny little ones here. Is that in focus? Can you see that? So these are the screws here. These are the ones that we're going to use to install the motherboard into the case. Little stubby little guys. So very simple. Just screw them into the case just like this. There we go. Light first till we get all the screws in. So there's 9 of them. Make sure you don't miss any of them. So this one is a little tricky. This is the center one right there. Let me screw from above here. There we go. Cable's getting in the way. There we go. Nice. Okay, number 2 down. There's 9 of them. So we keep going, keep going. Gotta make sure we get the right screws. So let's see what other one we want to tackle. Let's see if we can tackle this guy right at the edge here. Let's see if you guys can see me get the last one right here. Oh, don't think you can see that one, huh? Nope, that should do it. You should be able to see me get this screw right here. Yep, right there. Sweet! That's screwed in very good right there. Yes, and we can get this camera out of my face so you don't have to keep seeing that one. Sorry about that. It's just cleared out my face, maybe a tad higher. There we go. All right, so that one is tightened. Can you see this one? Yeah, we can see this last one right here. Let's get another screw for that last one. Right here. Just make sure it's threaded nicely. There we go. Whoop. Make sure we get that screw right there. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 installed. We got this one at this corner right here. Let's go for this corner one right there. Cool, cool, cool. Installing the corner screw. So this one right here. There we go. Sweet. And then we got this one here. Now we gotta get this one right at the edge here. Can you guys see that one? Right there. Yeah, I just can't see it from that angle, but trust me, there is a screw hole for that one. So we're gonna put the screw right into that motherboard standoff right there. And screw this one in there for you. Looking good, looking good. All right, got 3 more. We got this one right over here. See if we can get this one mounted right there. Cool. Let's get this one screwed in. Here's our screw of choice. And just gonna screw this one right on in here. There we go. So that means we got 2 more. We got one in the corner here. And then we got one right here. This one is tricky. It's right there. You see that one? And this other one is right there. So we'll start with this one first. Let me get the focus on that. Is it focusing? Yeah. And we're just going to put the screw in there. Let me find the right screw. There we go. There we go. I'm just going to tighten this baby in. Oh no. I had it. No. Alright. Here's the trick. We're going to come in with the screw already on the screwdriver. And just careful operation. Bring it into place. And then tighten it down. Touchdown! And locking in the second to last screw. Everything's kind of like just not really tight yet. So I want to make sure we get all of them in before we tighten it. There's the last screw. See if we can get the screw seated in there first. And then we use the screwdriver to carefully come in. There we go. Alright, so this is the last one. That's all 9 of them. So I think the motherboard is pretty tight. I mean, there's no wiggle room, so I'm going to start to put a little pressure on that one. Do more kind of a star pattern. Get this one right here. And then we'll get this one right here. And then we'll go over here, grab this one right here. Sorry, it's a little bit out of focus, but there's like, it's kind of like whack-a-mole. And we'll get this one right here. Whoops, let me come from up here. It's pretty tight. This one right here. And there was one right here. Yep, starting to put some little bit of torque on these guys right here. Yep, and then I think we got the center one. We didn't get this last one over here. Yeah, and that's pretty well torqued up there. And make sure we torque up this one too. I think that's it. Just going around, making sure everything is torqued. All 9 screws are torqued in. All right, down to the last 3. So 3, 2, and our last one right there. Okay, so the motherboard is installed, guys. Whew. That was a lot of work. Getting the radiator installed with the fans behind the radiator, piping this over, getting power to the other side for the fan, and then making sure the fan connector is attached here, going through underneath the bracket. Our bracket's installed, CPU is installed in there, running the wire as smooth as possible to the cooler over here, and I think that's it. Everything is stable and solid. It looks good. We can finally lift this case up, and we can actually put a little bling, put some RGB fans. What do you say? We put some RGB fans in the front here, or should we save that for another day? Yeah, let's save it for another day because we got the radiator installed. So I think this is good. This is a good stopping point. Let me move over to the top view here so you guys can see the top view of everything. And yeah, it's installed, guys. Look, we got the radiator installed, the cooler is installed, and it's gonna pick up the case and put the side panels back on. So here's the computer case. In fact, I'm not even gonna put the side panel back on. I'm just gonna leave it as is so you guys can see right there. Do I have everything all patted down? Huh, it's not a good view of it. Top view is better. Oh, no, I'll show you guys the all-around view. There we go. Yeah, let me show you the all-around view before we wrap it up for the night. All right, so, I'll get this camera out. and show you guys all around the case. Wow, we got it installed, guys. So back here, we got the fans plugged in. See if we get that in focus. The fans are plugged in. They're going to be pushing air through the radiator, through the other side. And over here, we got the radiator installed. There's your Arctic brand. There's a radiator mounted in the front. There's your water line coming in and out through here. The pump is installed. Let me turn the light so you can see a little bit better. Pump's installed. We got power to the CPU fan 1 header on the motherboard. And then now we got room in the front here to mount some beautiful RGB fans pushing air this way as a part of the push-pull, right? Because, oops, sorry, I lost camera. So a push-pull is like these fans back here, they're pulling in air, pushing it through the radiator. And once the air is through the radiator, we're gonna have fans here. Hang on. Hang on. Okay, and then once it's through the radiator, oh my gosh, connection is just really poor. Sorry guys, connection is dying. Are we getting good connection yet? All right, yeah. Once it's over here, we're gonna get, dude, this bracket is, hang on 1 second. This is getting in my nerves. I'm gonna move this top view just so it's out of the way. There we go. Top view is out of the way, maybe, I hope. Almost. 1 second. Get this top view out of the way. There we go. Now it should really be out of the way, I hope. What's this part here? All right, cool. All right, and this thing is still in the way over here. So let me get that out of the way. Okay, there we go. There we go. So here's the front. Cooler's installed, piped, radiator. We're gonna have RGB fans in here. In the back, we got these fans in the push configuration, pulling air from outside, pushing through the radiators. And the radiator is going to cool off the liquid here. And we have fans in the front. They're going to be RGB fans pulling air that way. So that is the installation of the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 365mm on the Ryzen 9 3950X. And it's all powered up and ready to go. And with that, I would like to end this video, and we will continue tomorrow with the rest of the installation. But yeah, there it is right there. And let me turn you guys back to this page again. This page is very helpful in getting everything set up for us. And of course, there's also a video you can find on YouTube from Arctic themselves showing you the installation. And then I will leave you with this thumbnail to wrap up the night. So thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this video was helpful in showing you guys how we installed the motherboard to the Li O11 XL case, how we installed the CPU, the Ryzen 3950X onto the motherboard, and then how we attached the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 360mm onto the motherboard, as well as installing the radiator into the Li O11 XL case with push-pull fan configuration. So that's a mouthful. We'll go over this a little bit more in next video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys stay healthy and safe. I'm going to get ready to sign out right now because that is a wrap. Thank you so much for watching, and we are ending out, signing out. Have a good night. See you guys next time. Bye. Ending the live view on Amazon. All right, so now we're gonna go end the live view on Facebook as well as all the other social media. All right, saying goodnight to Facebook, Twitch people, and of course our lovely YouTube fans.